it's Bumbleberry, and welcome back to Seduce Me Too. And we're training, and Matthew's awake, and his grumble let me know that the night was not kind to him.
Is it morning already?
I nodded and gently leaned down, kissing Matthew's forehead. That seemed to lighten his mood as a happy smile danced across his lips, and he let out a happy sigh.
Good morning.
Morning. I smiled as I hovered over Matthew's face, seeing his beautiful blue eyes gaze into my eyes through the blur of sleep. With a sweet, infectious smile, Matthew reached a hand up and cupped my cheek.
You are so pretty. You know that?
Are you drunk? I fought a blush creeping up on my face. The way he said it so casually made my heart flutter and had me forgetting about the world around us. It was like we were in our own little universe for a short moment of time. You know, you can either choose a short amount of time or a moment. You know, I understand. Anyway, sorry, grammatic things. I nuzzled his hand and giggled. I didn't want the day to roll on to us getting ready to separate and train just yet. I wanted to sit back with Matthew and enjoy our time alone. No problems, no danger, just us. Matthew grew a small smirk before snaking his arms around me and pulling me against his chest, making me gasp and grab onto his shoulders, not wanting to crush him with my weight. However, Matthew smiled and squeezed me close.
No nightmare last night, huh?
As he said it, I realized it. There was indeed no nightmare for me last night. I had a peaceful, dreamless night. I suddenly smiled and looked down at Matthew with a happy nod. Wait, you looked down at him? Oh, 'cause he lifted you up. Yeah, no nightmare. I had a good sleep. Matthew chuckled before leaning up and kissing me softly, just enough for me to feel it. As he pulled away, I became curious about his own night. What about you? Matthew's face faltered a bit as I asked, but he shook his head slightly and gained his smile back.
It was rough. I woke up a couple of times, but that was pretty much it.
What happened? Did you kill a small child? What happened? You can tell me, Matthew. There was more to the story, but I had to let it go. Why? If he wanted me to trust him, then I had to with the full extent of my heart. Whoops. Whatever, okay. So I gave him a kiss on his nose, and he's like, yeah. So, what's the plan for you?
Well, I figured I could skip some training and just spend some time with you.
Ooh, Matthew. With a playful smirk, I gripped the nearby pillow and gently bounced it off of him, making him flail a bit.
Hey!
You know how training important is, Matthew. Matthew smirked and rolled us both over to have him on top of me, bouncing his own pillow on me. Ah!
I can totally train with you in a never-ending pillow fight!
Oh, it was on. Ka-chow! I quickly grabbed my pillow and swung it at Matthew, landing on target and causing him to roll off of me. With a grin, I arched my body in the opposite direction, hoping to land another hit on him. But Matthew quickly ducked and swung his pillow at me, hitting me with a soft, fluffy impact.
Gotcha!
Ah, pillow fights with Matthew. The battle became intense, and soon we were double-fisting pillows, trying to whack on each other with our chosen weapons, while also avoiding the fireplace, the bench, anything that truly looked expensive around the room. Regardless, we were immersed in our own world, duking it out with feathers and cloth as we lost track of time. We barely even noticed the door open.
What's going on in...
Hi, Diana! I gasped in surprise and looked over to see the succubus holding 2 plates with stacks of pancakes on them. She's like a full-service place, even though she's like in the middle of a war. Uh-oh. What frightened me and Diana was a sudden knife chucking itself in Diana's direction, causing her to sidestep and letting the knife rake through a stack, effectively nailing the pancakes to the wall beside her. Whoa!
Hey!
Was that Matthew? Yeah! Diana and I both looked at him, seeing him panting and posed in mid-throw. His eyes flashed back and forth between gold and blue, glaring hard at Diana, most likely in surprise from her sudden entrance. Is he tasked with killing her or something? And once again, I was taken away from my fantasy and brought back to reality of possessions, wars, and lacking of pillow fights. Diana snarled and practically slammed the 2 plates she was holding onto the table, glaring daggers at Matthew.
What in the 7 hells was that about?
Diana? As Diana took a step forward, oh, Matthew's like, I've done it now. Yes, you have. As Diana took a step forward, Matthew suddenly shook his head and realized who was approaching him, and who he essentially attacked, causing him to step back and place his hands in front of him.
Whoa, hold on!
Let's defend him. I quickly reacted, not wanting Diana and Matthew to start fighting. Besides, Diana took us by surprise. Matthew couldn't have known. I bet one of the endings is like me staying out of it and her just like obliterating him. I rushed over and placed myself between Matthew and Diana, holding my arms out to stop her. Diana, hold on. Diana stopped and glared down at me, now turning her frustration towards me.
What?
I opened my mouth to speak before Matthew rushed around me and pressed his hands together, bowing his head.
I'm sorry. I didn't know it was you. I thought it was an attacker and...
An attacker in my home? They would be dead before they even set foot through the gates!
I looked to Matthew, seeing him grit his teeth and press his hands together hard, trying to gain some form of forgiveness from the succubus who seemed to want to cut his throat open. I mean, you destroyed perfectly good pancakes, Matthew, let's be honest. Diana snarled quietly before slapping his hands away and gripping his chin, making him stare up at her.
The next time you dare to attack me will be the last time you feel your heart beating in your chest.
Fair enough. With a threatening scowl, Diana pushed Matthew back and away from her, causing her to turn away and walk towards the exit of the room. I, however, rushed to Matthew, catching him before he tripped on his own feet.
Eat, then get to training. Don't waste time.
Okay. Diana finally left me, leaving me and Matthew lost in our own space again. This time we were awake and more aware of what was going on, mildly ashamed of the delusion we placed ourselves in before the sudden surprise from Diana. Matthew rubbed his head, looking to the floor.
Man, I really screwed up.
Comfort him. I knew that he messed up, but he needed to get himself together and fix his mistakes so he could move on and figure out the problems that he already had. I wrapped my arms around him, noozling his shoulder. It's all right. I rubbed his shoulders as he rested his forehead against mine.
How the heck do I deserve you?
You don't. Just kidding. I merely smiled and kissed his cheek. Because you love me, and I love you. With a chuckle, Matthew kissed my cheek in kind and nodded.
Right.
Now you remember. So are you gonna still claim that you can fix this whole position thing yourself, or can I now tell Diana? Matthew and I turned to our breakfast and ate what we could, with Matthew taking the plate he managed to attack. The pancakes almost slipped off the knife that was still embedded in the wall, causing Matthew to run and catch it in his empty plate. He didn't eat it, and merely left it there, avoiding it like it had some kind of poison on it. We eventually separated to train, letting the day roll. You didn't give him your pancakes? Why did he even get that? Whatever, it doesn't matter. I was excited to see what training we could do today. However, as I walked to the Great Hall to meet with Rabbit, I bumped into someone.
Oh no! Sorry, I didn't mean to hit you.
Is this Rabbit's love interest? You have an animal mask. Who are you? And you have a lion thing. Are you my lion friend? Looking over at who had collided with me, I was surprised to see a young man in some sort of flowing cloth garb, waving his hands in front of him in worry. What was wrong? He just bumped into me. It was an accident, I'm sure. It's all right. It's all right. Despite my reassurance, the boy bowed and apologized once again.
I really am truly sorry.
I
That's
get
enough,
it.
Bajang.
Oh, Bajang. I quickly looked over to see Diana walking towards me with crossed arms, looking to the boy as he flinched at his name. Bajang looked up and jumped up at the sight of Diana beside me.
Rebel Queen! I have a message from my lady.
I know. Come along, and I will hear it.
Who's your lady?
I apologize for keeping you. Good luck with training.
I could only nod before Diana walked off with the boy behind her. He seemed nice. I wondered for a moment who he was, but shook my head. A moment in time. What does that mean? Anyway, I continued my journey, peering in and expecting to see my trainer ready for me. That unfortunately wasn't the case. Rabbit stood in the middle of the room, her staff in front of her, while formed in a semicircle around her were pig and fawn demons. Ones very much resembled the one I saw in the vision the boys gave me about their past. Why were they here, though? Watch. I was lost on what was happening, but something in my gut told me to stay put. Following my instincts, I watched as Rabbit stepped back, gripping her staff hard with the imp demons cackling quietly around her. A large blue light began to glow from the crystal at the end of her staff, causing the imps to turn and become distracted by it. As they did, however, Rabbit swung her staff in the arc, causing a large wave of ice to spring forward and engulf them. I stared in shock as the imps became encased in ice, frozen in time and space. What made my mind completely break in awe was that Rabbit was lifting up the end of her staff and tapping it on the surface of the ice. The bodies of the imps suddenly began to crack and crumble before dissolving into the ice as if they were never even there. What the heck? She has magic powers, Mika, obviously. I took another step in, trying to take in what had just happened. What kind of ice did Rabbit trap them in? Why were they there in the first place? What was going on? Rabbit turned over her shoulder and gasped, seeing me come in. As she did, the ice disappeared, evaporating into the air. Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just...
Doing some therapy there? I stared at Rabbit, confused as ever, as she turned in and let out a sigh.
I'm sorry. I was doing some training of my own. I'm usually not on the battlefield in war, but since the next battle will be our last, we need to have as many people fighting as we can.
Are you suspicious of this lady at all? I don't know. I feel like she thinks since she's low on the totem pole that she, deserves more and stuff, which I get, I understand. It was understandable. I wasn't the only one allowed to train after all. It's fine. Sorry for interrupting. I didn't interrupt. I was just standing there. Anyway, Rabbit laughed a bit, hugging her staff to her body. It was pretty cute to see her stand up to the illusionary imps, but she seemed to handle herself well. After a moment, however, she shook her head and cleared her throat.
Anyway, we should start your training for the day. Can't let this time go to waste.
Let's do it. Moment in time. Okay, so she caused a large group of imps to appear, ready to slice into me and my animal guardian. I smirked, knowing how easy this would be. Upon my command, my last guardian stepped forward and began to claw through the group, dodging their swords and spears and making sure to rip through each one of them as they came. As one fell and turned into mist, another would emerge to take its place. It became a practice of endurance. My animal kept fighting, but I felt myself slowly becoming weaker with each attack and movement. It had happened the day before, but the battles had been shorter and were divided with many breaks in between. Oh my gosh. It's totally in the evening, so of course, she's too tired. My animal guardian dispelled itself, unable to maintain its form without my energy, leaving me defenseless. However,
I'm very shocked.
Rabbit spun her staff into the air, willing the imps to vanish. She walked over to me with a smile, most likely proud of the work I had done.
I'm very shocked to see how long we managed to keep fighting. Many people would have dropped halfway through, but you pushed forward.
Yay! I hope this is helping her. Thanks. In truth, I didn't want to give up, no matter what had happened. This was training, and stamina was a key part of defending myself. Rabbit looked to the window, seeing the light of the afternoon slowly drift into the night.
Why don't we take a break for now? Then we'll do one last round before your training is over. All right?
Isn't my energy totally dead? I nodded, going to the far corner of the room, sitting down, not wanting to shut my eyes for a moment and take a nap to regain my energy. I barely noticed the figure running into the room and approaching Rabbit.
My lady?
Yes? Are they in love? I wanted to see if they were holding hands. I opened an eye, looking up to see Bajing looking to Rabbit with a slight grimace in his expression. Rabbit turned to him and placed her staff to the side, tilting her head forward and furrowing her eyebrows. What's wrong?
Bajang, what is it?
Well, you see...
Rabbit stepped forward and checked Bajing's face, looking for something.
What's wrong? Did she take your energy?
Oh, no. She didn't. She refused to take any from me. But she gave me another message to send back to you.
So they're working together. I think they're a couple. And he offered himself to Diana, but she said no. Anyway, Rabbit waited as Bajing took a breath and straightened up, calm from the flustered expression he carried earlier. Whatever he had to say must have been important.
She wants to speak with you alone tomorrow morning, before anything is settled.
Tomorrow morning? Why not tonight?
Bajing rubbed his head, another grimace painting over his face.
Well, she said she had plans later tonight, so she can't.
She's probably banging Sarah.
With whom? Wait, never mind. I don't wish to know.
With a sigh, Rabbit turned and hugged her staff.
Thank you, Bajang. You're dismissed for the night.
Oh, thank you, my lady.
With that, Bajing bowed in turn, letting Rabbit sigh to herself, shaking her head. Look at how prim and proper.
Why do we have to keep discussing this?
Discussing what? I couldn't help but be curious. Rabbit looked over at me with a surprised face before pressing her lips together and looking away.
It's nothing to worry about. Just a minor topic we need to chat about. It's nothing.
Liar! From the tone of her voice, it was definitely something large. However, Rabbit wasn't willing to spill the beans just yet. I let it go for now, knowing that I would find out sooner or later, regardless of the fact. Should I have not said anything? But I want to know. Bajing finally left as Rabbit let out a sigh and looked back at me, a desperate look for some sort of distraction in her eyes. Whatever Diana needed to talk to her about really riled her up. Still, I refused to let it get the best of me. I was certain that I would be perfect, fighting with my guardian, forget about whatever they were chatting about with ease.
Are you ready to go again?
That's what she said. I nodded, sitting up to go once more and shaking out my nerves. I was getting tired, but my day wasn't over. I trained into the night like I usually did. This time, however, Rabbit seemed to be rougher with her obstacles and attacks, letting out stress from the situation that she wouldn't tell me about. I felt a little bad she was holding it in, but understood why. As Rabbit and I finally relaxed, Rabbit smiled at me, exhausted.
You're getting better. That's good.
I nodded, happy to know that there was improvement. As I turned to leave, however, Rabbit stopped me.
Wait,
Yeah? What is it? I turned to see Rabbit rubbing one of her ears nervously. Oh my gosh, that's
can
precious.
you come a little later to practice tomorrow? You know that Diana is coming to discuss something, and, well...
She didn't want me to overhear it. Rude. My curiosity was piqued, but I nodded regardless. All right, I'll come by later. With a smile, I left. So she didn't say it like that. Like, all right, I'll come by later is probably what she actually did. But this is me and my judgment face. Like, I should know all as the player. All right, so I'm going back to my room to the possessed Matthew. As I walked in, however, I took in a sight I did not expect to see. Why is he so... What? Matthew held Simon in a full-body chokehold, crushing his body like a stress ball and glaring hard into the beady red eyes.
I'm gonna rip you apart!
What is wrong with you? Matthew. I rushed in and grabbed Matthew's hands, prying them apart and letting Simon slip from between them onto the ground. Simon let out a squeak before running out of the room. Matthew, still for some reason enraged, took a step to follow him before I slammed my hand onto his shoulder.
Get back here!
Matthew, stop. I gripped hard on Matthew's shoulder, causing him to turn to me and letting me grab onto his other shoulder. As I got a good look at his eyes, I gasped at the sight. His eyes were full of rage and anger as he panted in place. Whatever Simon did really made him go off the edge, or something else was influencing him again. Possessions. I suddenly became afraid, shaking underneath his gaze. Every fiber of my body completely began to spaz out as I became locked onto his angry glare. What was happening to me? I opened my mouth to try to speak, but no sound would dare come out of my vocal cords. It was like I was too frightened to press him or stop him. Yes? Oh, hey, he's coming back. Look at his little surprised face. He always looks like he's chewing something in that picture to me. I don't know why. As Matthew continued to pant for air and stare at me, something in his mind slowly melted, causing his eyes to slowly widen in realization as what he had done and what he was about to do to Simon. The strange hold on my body faded away as his muscles relaxed, trying to breathe and regain control of whatever had clouded his judgment. As it finally became apparent that he had returned to sanity, Matthew's eyes began to droop in sadness.
What am I doing?
Being a jerk face. Matthew pulled away from me, placing his hands between us and stepping back, staring at me in deep regret. I tried to step forward to try to comfort him, but he raised a hand to stop me, walking over to the bed and sitting down, grasping his head.
Something happened to me. I don't know what.
Matthew, let us help. You're so cute. We just want to help you. We sat next to him. In shame, Matthew covered his face with his hands and curled over his knees, digging his fingers into his forehead.
I keep hearing my mother's voice telling me to come home and save her. Whenever I do, I completely lose control of myself. I can't remember what I did or why I did it, but I always manage to do something wrong.
Well, I'm sure you vaguely remember throwing a knife at Diana. I grimaced, remembering the random attack on Diana. I placed my hand on his shoulder as he shuddered and shook his head again.
I gotta fix this. There's gotta be some way to stop it from happening to me.
Matthew, it was painful to see him... I'm so sorry, guys. It's kind of late at night, so I'm sorry I'm tripping over words a little bit. It was painful to see him struggling. Still, I couldn't understand why he had to fight this alone. Why not go to the others for help? I'm sure James has read like 8,000 books on the subject. Matthew let out a sigh and slumped his shoulders further.
And let them help me? Like they've always done?
Yeah, that's what family does. As Matthew turned to me, I could practically see the shame in his eyes as he spoke.
Every time I was in trouble, they'd always come and help. Every time I do something, I'm treated like a damn kid.
You're their brother, and you are younger than most of them. Matthew turned his head away and gritted his teeth, forming fists and laying them on his knees, tightening them in aggravation.
There's a reason why I didn't ask them to help with the wedding. I don't want them babying me and doing everything like I'm some sort of stupid moron who needs everything done for him.
I don't think they feel that way. I mean, I feel like when people are there to help you, they don't think you're a baby. They think you're their friend. And they're like, I will help. Here we go. And the option is either be possessed and potentially kill people and things that you love, or will kill you, like in the case of Diana. Or you could ask your family for help at the risk of looking weak, quote unquote.
I want to do this on my own. I can figure this out without their help. I'm not even the youngest, but they still treat me like I am, even Damien. I don't want that anymore.
I was speechless. Did Matthew really feel that kind of pressure from his brothers? My mind went back to the first day I had met them, how Eric treated Matthew like a little boy despite Matthew being close to his age. As the grimace of realization appeared on my lips, Matthew let out a shaky sigh.
I can't ask for their help. I'm sorry.
Should I hug him or take his hand? Let's hug him? No, we'll take his hand. I didn't know what to say. He was going through so much that I wasn't sure if anything I could say would help the situation. I placed my hand over one of his fists, caressing it softly with my fingers. Matthew didn't move, taking in my actions and trying to relax once again. A peaceful moment of silence passed between us before Matthew softly pulled his hand away and looked me in the eyes.
I don't understand why you like me at all, you know?
Well, that's depressing. You make cake. Confused, I stared into Matthew's eyes, trying to figure out the origin of where his statement came from. Matthew, however, took my hands and grasped them at his, looking down at them.
I love you so much. But I'm not mature like James or the others. I don't understand at all how someone like me could be remotely likable.
You're so cute, and you're nice, and you care about us and other people, and you care about animals and toys. Stop. I glared, not wanting to let him degrade himself. As he looked back up at me, he flinched at my stare, but I needed to get him to see that I loved him and cared for him for every part of him. It didn't matter that he was like his brothers. Oh, he wasn't like his brothers. He was mine, and I loved him. Perfect. There you go. Well, just tell him that. I squeezed his hands, locking his gaze into mine. I love you for you, Matthew. I don't care what your brothers act like or how you're not like them. I don't care. I fell in love with you, not them. Lies and other playthroughs, but whatever, he doesn't need to know that. Matthew remained silent, staring deep into my eyes and taking in everything that I was saying with a broken but hopeful gaze. He really cared about me, and he didn't want to hurt me, but I didn't want him to hurt either. Whatever this is, whatever thing is trying to control you, we'll fix this. But don't you dare degrade yourself like that. Kiss him. Mwah. At last, I leaned forward and pressed my lips to his, locking his to mine in a loving kiss. Matthew stared wide-eyed before very slowly closing his eyes and melting into the lip lock. I wanted to show him how strong and wonderful he was. I fell in love with him not just for his childish side, but how he made me feel with every part of him. He was very much an adult when I was locked in his arms, and I was drowned in his kisses constantly. I was so lucky to have him as mine, and I wanted to remind him of that with every part of me, mind, body, and soul. I think this is a sexy time scene. Okay, I'll read it. And as always, I'll put the skip button ahead if anything raunchy happens. I slowly slid my legs over his lap, straddling his hips, and made the kiss between us deeper, relishing in the feelings that were burning between us. Matthew slowly drew his hands up my sides and wrapped them around me, hugging me to his chest almost possessively and making me gasp against his lips. He was getting the idea that I was happy, and I was happy, that my message was clear enough to understand. He was mine, and I was his. We would support and hold on to each other forever, and nothing would separate us. My clothes were slowly stripped off my body, Matthew taking his time and looking at every inch of my body as it became exposed. I would shyly show him, but happily allow him to indulge and ravish me if he desired, if he craved it. A flash of gold passed over his eyes, as he finally grasped the back of my neck and kissed me passionately. I couldn't help but moan against his lips, feeling his free hand dance around each curve of my body as his enthrallment slowly eased itself into my core, warming my soul in love and need. Oh, look at his little face. He's so cute. I just want to pinch his little cheeks. I couldn't stop myself from grinding up against the incubus, needing him to undress himself and let us make love like I desired, like we both desired. Matthew slightly smirked against my lips before turning us over and staring at me.
You're so beautiful. You know that?
Thank you, Matthew. I felt my body warm at his words, making me distracted as Matthew began to run his hands all over my body, leaving no inch of skin unexplored and unconquered by his fingers or his lips. I arched back, pressing my head into the pillows beneath my head, and let out a loving sigh and moan with each pleasureful touch he placed on me. This was truly heaven. I was so lost that I barely noticed him stripping as well and hovering over me, finally allowing us to become one. As we did, the world around me became lost. I could only see Matthew, and he could only see me. We would become lost in each other's eyes as we wrapped each other in pleasure and love, climbing through our carnal ecstasy and chanting each other's names like two prayers in sweet harmony. My hands guided themselves around Matthew's body, feeling the slight sweat layered over his soft skin as I dragged my nails over his back. From the pleasureful hiss that erupted from him, I could tell that he enjoyed that and would pay back in kind. Our lovemaking soon became rapid and heated, unrelenting in its crescendo towards a beautiful and hot climax. We drove through it together, uncaring of who would hear our cries and screams. Guys, quiet down, all of his brothers are there, before slowly easing into a gentle and feather-like afterglow. Matthew and I held on to each other, lost within the embrace between us and euphoric in our emotions. I was so happy to have him in my arms, causing me to pull him closer to me and cuddle against him. Matthew laughed a bit before kissing me softly and nuzzling my forehead with his, "Look at that little face, she's so cute." I love you, Matthew.
I love you too.
Oh. We remained there, taking the sounds of our synchronized breathing and letting our hearts eventually beat as one. We would get through this. We would. Yay! Of course, not everything turns out the way we want. Alright. Well, we're going to have to continue this next time. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully, I don't know what you guys are going to think of what's happening. Do you think I messed up by not giving him a hug and holding his hand instead? I don't know. I just thought the hand holding was a better move. I don't know. Do you think Rabbit is dating the guy with the mask thing? And I don't know. What do you think she's requesting? I think she wants to fight or something. I don't know. Become like another general? I don't know. Tell me what you think. Anyway, I'll see you all next time. Bye.